Hi everyone, I'm Candy from Susan's family. Today I'm bringing you a new design, the flower pixel blanket tulip style. This piece is made up of a main part and edging. Start with making the main part, then add the edging around it once it's done. Let's start with the main part, which is a square-shaped piece. Crocheted using the diagonal method. Start from the bottom right corner with a foundation chain, then work back and forth diagonally. By increasing stitches, you'll reach a certain length, which is the symmetrical vertex of the rectangle. Then you'll start decreasing. Throughout the center, new yarn is continuously added, and colors are changed to create the corresponding pattern, according to the crochet sequence. These areas are called the increasing section and the decreasing section respectively. The stitches used include chain stitches, double crochet and slip stitches. Please watch my demonstration. Next, let's learn about the pixel chart. When we're crocheting, we view the stitch pattern and the grid chart together. First, let's look at the grid chart. I'll demonstrate using this swatch sample. The pattern shown isn't for reference. I'm only teaching how to read the chart. The grid chart has numbers labeled on it, and these numbers indicate which row it is. For example, where it says 1, that represents row 1. Both of these two squares here are labeled with 2, which means this is row 2. Later on, the 3 squares here all have 3 written on them, indicating this is row 3, and so on for the following rows. So the pixel chart is read diagonally like this to follow the row numbers. It's important to note that sometimes you'll see 01 on grid charts, which also stands for row 1. 02 stands for row 2, and so on for the following numbers. Some grid charts don't have numbers written on the squares, but instead list the row numbers beside them. 1 means row 1, 2 means row 2. You'll then notice that each square has a different color. These differently colored squares form various patterns. The color used for each square is indicated beside the grid chart. For example, the light blue square in this large grid chart corresponds to the light blue square in the color chart nearby. The text next to this light blue square shows the yarn color number used for this square. Next, let's talk about stitch charts. One grid chart corresponds to a stitch chart like this. It represents one pattern repeat. We'll start by finding the position marked 1, which is right here. Then you'll notice a marked crocheting direction on the chart. When crocheting, follow this direction shown on the chart. Now let's start learning the crochet method along with the video. To make it clearer for everyone to see, I'll use different yarn for demonstration here. The colors are random for specific yarn, color scheme and hook size. Please refer to the product detail page and printed pattern instructions. First, we start with a foundation chain. Pick up the yarn with your right hand. Wrap it around your left pinky from front to back. Then pass it between your index and middle finger. Pinch the yarn with your left thumb and middle finger. Leave a tail of about 5–10 centimeters. Pick up the crochet hook with your right hand. The hook will work between these 2 points. Place the hook underneath the yarn. Wrap the yarn counterclockwise around the hook. Now there's a loop on the hook. Pinch the crossing point of the loop with your left hand. The hook is on the left side of the yarn. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. This slip knot does not count as a stitch. Tighten the tail. Adjust the chain to the right size. Don't make it too tight, and don't make it too loose. Allow the hook to move freely through the loop. Now begin to crochet chain stitches. First take out one stitch marker. Pick up from below the hook. Mark the left strand. Then yarn over and draw through. This is one chain stitch. Continue by working 2 more chains, including the starting stitch. You'll crochet a total of 3 stitches. Take out the marker, pick up from below the hook, mark the left strand. Yarn over and draw through. This is the second stitch. Work 1 more stitch. Mark it before crocheting. Now the 3 chain stitches are done. The starting chain is completed. Note that the loop on the hook doesn't count as a stitch. Let me explain one more thing. Due to the special yarn material of this product, your hands might feel a bit tired while crocheting. You can change your grip to relieve hand fatigue. Here are 2 ways to hold the hook. The first is like holding a pencil. The second is like this. Place your hand above the hook. Gently hold the hook. Those are the 2 ways to hold the hook. On the left-hand side, the pinky is wrapped around the yarn. If it feels stuck during crocheting, loosen the yarn. Gently press the yarn with your ring finger and pinky. Now work the fabric piece. First work the first row. Work 3 chains as the turning chains for the double crochet. Then insert into the chain stitch next to the beginning chain, and work a double crochet. That is the 4th chain from right to left. Note that this loop on the hook is not counted. You can see the V-shaped braid on the right side of the chain. And a raised horizontal bar on the wrong side. Pick up the corresponding chains right side. Half stitch above the braid. Let me first indicate the position here. Which is picking up a strand like this? Insert the hook and crochet. And that is the position marked by the stitch marker. Now start crocheting. Yarn over once around the hook. Insert into the corresponding position. Yarn over and draw the yarn through. There are 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. 2 loops remain. Yarn over again, and pull through once. 1 double crochet is completed. Let me demonstrate the double crochet technique again. Yarn over. Pick up the half stitch above the left side chain, which is the position marked by the 2nd stitch marker. Yarn over and draw the yarn through. Then yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops in sequence. Repeat twice. Once. Twice. This completes the 2nd double crochet. Make another double crochet in the adjacent chain. Here we treat 3 chains and 3 double crochets as one pattern. The first row has only one pattern. Everyone take a look. This is the effect after completing the first row. Remove the stitch marker. Work the second row downward. Continue from the yarn tail of the previous row. Start with 3 chain stitches. Mark each chain stitch. Because this piece is worked using the diagonal method, so when working back and forth, need to turn the fabric over. Turn it counterclockwise. Then pick up these 3 chains. Work a motif, which starts with 3 chain stitches. At this point, the back side of the starting chain is facing you. Pick up the half stitch at the highest point of the corresponding chain. That is the thread right above the raised horizontal bar. Work 1 double crochet into each of them accordingly. Or you can also insert into the marked stitch position, and work 1 double crochet each. One motif is completed. Insert into the top of the first motif's beginning chain position. Into the large space next to it, right here. The space between the double crochet and the beginning chain. Insert into this space and work a slip stitch. Yarn over and draw through. Pull through all loops on the hook in one go. Slip stitch completed. You don't need to tighten this slip stitch. Continue working another motif right here. Start with 3 chain stitches. Pick the same hole, work 3 double crochets. With that, the second row is completed. This row has 2 motifs. Now move on to the third row. First, work 3 chain stitches. Pay attention to the marker. Later in the increasing section, you need to mark the 3 chain stitches before each motif on every row. I won't mention this again later. Then turn over. Pick up these 3 chain stitch positions. Work a motif. Same here, the back side of the chain is facing you. Pick the highest part of the chain stitch for a half stitch. Insert the hook and crochet. Or you can also pick the marked stitch with the marker. You may notice, at the beginning of each row, you first work 3 chain stitches. Then turn over and work the motif. The foundation method for each row going forward will be the same. I won't go into details from now on. After completing, pick the adjacent motif into the space between the beginning chain and the double crochet. That is the hole next to the beginning chain. Work a slip stitch. Insert. Yarn over and pull through. Pull through the loops on the hook at once. This completes the slip stitch. Don't pull too tight. I won't repeat the explanation from now on. Later, pick the same position and work a motif. After completing, pick the space of the adjacent motif on the left side. The spaces of the following motifs all refer to the space between the beginning chain and the double crochet. I won't go into details from now on. Insert into the chain space. Work a slip stitch. Then work a motif here. After completing, the third row is done. 3 motifs are worked in this row. You can see the texture of the motifs in row 3, corresponding to row 1. This is the right side of the piece. The double crochet texture looks more neat. When distinguishing right and wrong sides later, you can refer to the texture. At the same time, the starting yarn tail should be at the bottom right corner. Now work row 4. The method is the same as before. Start with a chain and place a marker. Then turn the work and work 1 motif. After completing, pick up the gap of the adjacent motif and slip stitch. Continue with the second motif. Then pick up the corresponding position of the adjacent motif on the left side and slip stitch. Continue picking motifs and work the corresponding motif. Use one slip stitch to transition between motifs. Work the last motif completely. That completes row 4. This row has 4 motifs. At this point, refer to the chart. Measure the dimensions of the fabric piece. If it differs significantly from the chart, it is recommended to adjust your tension and recrochet to avoid affecting the finished product size. The next 4 rows are worked in a similar way to row 4. Only the number of motifs differs. Please follow the previous method. Refer to the chart. Work until the third to last motif of row 8. I have already completed it in advance. Now let's work the second to last motif. First, work 3 chains. Then, pick up the gap and make 2 double crochets. Because the last motif requires a color change, the last stitch of the second to last motif needs a color change. The last stitch should start with an incomplete double crochet. Yarn over the hook, 1 round. Insert the hook. Yarn over and pull through. There are now 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. There are now 2 loops left on the hook. This completes 1 incomplete double crochet. For easier explanation, the original yarn is called color 1. The new yarn pulled out is called color 2. From here on, the colors I choose are random. Please refer to the chart for details. Take the new yarn. Start by leaving 5-10 centimeters. Hold the yarn with your left hand. Simply press the tail behind the fabric. Then yarn over and pull through. When you yarn over and pull through here, you need to bring color 1 over the hook. This completes the second to last motif. And secure the tail of color 1. The purpose of doing this is to prevent the tail from fraying out like this. Then pick the left side gap of the motif and slip stitch. You also need to bring color 1 here. And since color 1 won't be used around this area, so leave a 10 cm tail and cut the yarn. Then use color 2 to crochet the last motif. And place the reserved tail of color 1 and the joining yarn tail over the hook and weave them in as you go. This completes row 8. Now let's crochet row 9. The crochet method for the first few motifs is similar to previous rows. Please follow the chart until you reach the second to last stitch of the 6th motif. Now I've reached this position. Since the 7th motif requires a color change, The last stitch of the sixth motif needs to change color in advance. First, work a double crochet but leave it incomplete. Then follow the method of joining new yarn. Rejoin the yarn to crochet. Then pick the left side motif and slip stitch. Color 2 will be needed for the adjacent motif. But since it's too far from the second motif position on row 10, we won't carry the yarn. Also, in the upcoming rows at this motif's corresponding position, this color will be needed again, so keep the yarn tail, and leave it in place. Continue downward with the newly joined color. Crochet 3 motifs. Pay attention to the color change. While crocheting, place the yarn tail for joining over the hook. And wrap it together with the stitches. Because the first motif on row 10 requires a color change, so change colors before the last stitch. At this point, color 1 won't be used around here, so leave a 10 cm yarn tail and fasten off. This completes row 9. Continue to crochet row 10. Use the new color to crochet 1 motif. While crocheting, you can place the yarn tail for joining over the hook and carry it along. After completing this, the next stitch requires a color change. The color to switch to is the same as color 2. So follow the method of joining a new yarn. Reattach the yarn and continue crocheting. Here, one yarn ball has 2 ends. One from the center. And one from the surface. You can use the other end from the yarn ball of the current working yarn to join, the other end of the yarn ball from the current working yarn to join, or reuse a yarn ball of the same color to join. The method is similar to changing colors. Then continue crocheting this row with the new color. Note that the last motif requires a color change. The yarn you just switched off won't be used around. Leave a 10 cm yarn tail and cut the yarn. You'll encounter the same situation later. I won't repeat the explanation. As you go, place the remaining yarn tails on top of the hook to hide them. During crocheting, you'll meet the previous yarn tail of color 2. There are 2 yarn tails here. You can cut off the first yarn tail. This completes row 10. Now let's crochet row 11. Use color 1 to crochet 1 motif. Remember to change colors. After completing the motif, slip stitch into the left side gap. Then use color 3 to crochet 1 motif. Remember to change colors. Next, crochet the motif with color 2. Keep crocheting until the end of the row. Color 1 and color 3 will be used around the head again. So we don't need to cut the yarn here for now. Leave it here. Since there are many yarn tails, after finishing each row later on, organize the yarn ball smoothly to avoid yarn tails from tangling. This completes row 11. After completing row 11, you'll notice there are quite a few cut yarn tails in front. Use a sewing needle to weave them in. Try to hide the same color yarn tails within the same color. If the yarn tail is too short to weave in easily, insert the sewing needle into the corresponding position. Then thread the yarn tail through and weave it in. Make sure everyone weaves in all the yarn tails. The crochet method for row 12 is similar to before. Follow the chart and crochet until right before the color change. When it's time to switch colors, simply pull the new color yarn directly over. Don't pull the carried yarn too tight across to prevent the fabric from puckering. This completes row 12. Now let's work on row 13. Remember, while crocheting, you need to keep the yarn organized and smooth. Everyone follow the chart and crochet until the fourth motif is completed. I won't be placing a stitch marker here. Make sure you place your stitch markers properly. After completing the fourth motif, we'll use color 3 around the edges. But since the color 3 section for row 14 is quite far away, you can fasten off the yarn here. Then continue this row with color 2. This completes row 13. Now proceed to crochet row 14. First, crochet according to the chart until the first 5 motifs are completed. Pay attention to the color change. After completing them, use color 3 to crochet 2 motifs. Also, because after completing these 2 motifs, color 2 will be needed, so while crocheting, carry color 2 over the hook and wrap it into the stitches. Pay attention to the color change. Use color 1 to crochet 1 motif and then switch colors. Then continue crocheting the rest of this row according to the chart. Pay attention, color changes are required during the crocheting process. This completes row 14. Continue with row 15. Keep crocheting all the way down the first 5 motifs. After the first 5 motifs are completed, because the 7th motif uses color 3, and since it's a short distance here, the existing color 3 thread doesn't need to be cut off. When crocheting the 6th motif with color 1, wrap color 3 over the hook and pull through. Pay attention to the color change. Then crochet the next 3 motifs with color 3. Pay attention to the color change. Then crochet 3 motifs with color 3. Pay attention to the color change. While crocheting, you can loop in color 2 slightly. And weave it into the stitches together, to make the color change easier later. Then use color 2 to finish the second to last motif. After completing, move down to the last motif position. Here, switch to a color identical to color 1. Use the method for joining new yarn. Attach the yarn again and continue crocheting. Note that each yarn ball has 2 yarn tails. One from the center, and one from the surface. You can use the other yarn tail from the current working yarn ball to join, or use a new yarn ball of the same color to join. The method is similar to changing colors. Here, because the 17th row and the 18th row also require this yarn for the 2 middle stitches. So if you only have 1 yarn ball, prepare a small yarn ball in advance. This way, after completing the 15th row, when you need to add the color later, join the yarn using the method for adding new yarn. Also, if you run out of yarn, simply join new yarn using the same method. Whenever you encounter adjacent motifs, and the motif in the corresponding position on the next row is not the same color, or if you won't use that color again later, you can leave a yarn tail, and fasten off the yarn, then rejoin the yarn at the corresponding position to continue crocheting. The methods have all been demonstrated earlier, so I won't go into details later. Everyone, complete the increasing section, and pay attention to color changes. That's all for the crochet method of the increasing section. Next, we'll crochet the decreasing section. I'll demonstrate using a solid color swatch piece. Everyone, pay attention to color changes during the crocheting process. Motifs need to be decreased at both diagonal ends. Start by making 3 beginning chains. Turn. Slip stitch into the motif underneath. Then work one motif. After completing, slip stitch to the motif on the left side. Continue working corresponding motifs one by one afterwards. Keep crocheting until the inner side of the last motif. Do not continue crocheting afterward. Make a slip stitch. This way both the beginning and end have one less motif. That's the end of explanation for this row. Next, move on to the next row, using the same method. Start by making 3 chain stitches as the beginning chain. Turn and slip stitch into the motif underneath. Then crochet one motif. Then correspondingly crochet each motif one by one. Crochet until the inner side of the last motif. This row is now completed. From now on, follow the same method as the first 2 rows. Continue crocheting. Keep going until the last row is finished. When completed, the final row will only have one motif. After finishing, pick up the adjacent motif and slip stitch. Finally, chain 3 stitches. Turn. Pick up the motif underneath and slip stitch. After completing, it's time to fasten off the yarn. First, make 1 chain stitch to secure. Leave a little yarn tail. Cut the yarn. Pull tight. Hide the yarn tail on the wrong side of the fabric. You can weave in a few more stitches. This concludes the explanation of the decreasing section. This is the end of the explanation for crocheting this piece. After completing the main part, next, let's learn how to add the edging. Please watch my demonstration. Take the main piece you crocheted earlier. Find the last stitch position of the last row, which means the right side is facing you on the first row. I'll use this small swatch for demonstration. The row count isn't meant to be followed. Pick up the last 3 chain stitches next to the last motif. Pick them all up together. Then take the yarn to join it. Pick up the yarn tail and make a slip knot. Insert the hook into the knotted loop. Draw the yarn through. Pull both strands. Adjust the loop size. The yarn joining is complete. Work 2 chains as beginning chain. Make 4 double crochets at the joining spot. Keep the remaining yarn tails above the hook and wrap them in as you crochet. Work 1/2 double crochet in the same spot. Yarn over the hook once. Insert the hook into the corresponding position. Yarn over and draw through. There are now 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through all loops at once. This completes 1/2 double crochet. The pattern on the left side, pick up and work into the chain stitch above it. Make a slip stitch. Don't pull it too tight. Pick up the chain stitch on the next pattern, and work 1/2 double crochet. Yarn over the hook once. Insert the hook into the corresponding position. Yarn over and draw through. There are now 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through all loops at once. This completes another 1/2 double crochet. Work 4 double crochets in the same spot. After completing, work 1/2 double crochet. We'll consider the last 6 stitches as one fan pattern. Continue with 1 slip stitch on the left side pattern. Work 1 fan pattern on the next motif, which starts with 1/2 double crochet, followed by 4 double crochets one after another. And 1/2 double crochet. This completes another fan pattern. After that, follow the pattern of working slip stitches on one motif, and fan patterns on the next. Keep working until reaching the top of the left corner. After completing the last motif, pick the insertion position of the first double crochet on the left side pattern. Make 1 slip stitch. Rotate the piece. Pick up the left side motif. Insertion position of the middle double crochet. Work 1 fan pattern. Pick up the entire left side motif, and hook 1 slip stitch. Insertion position of the middle double crochet in the next motif. Work 1 fan pattern. Following this demonstration, crochet this edge according to the chart. After completing the last motif, pick the insertion position of the double crochet on the left side, and hook 1 slip stitch. This way the second side is completed. Rotate the piece. Crochet the third side. The crocheting method for the third side is the same as the second side. Just follow the chart to crochet. When completed, pick the motif on the left side. Hook 1 slip stitch at the top of this double crochet. The third side is completed. Rotate the piece. Crochet the fourth side. The method is the same as the first side. Just follow the chart to crochet. Finally, pick the top position of the double crochet at the motif on the left side. Hook 1 slip stitch. Finally, hook a slip stitch into the gap between the beginning chain and the double crochet to join. The joining slip stitch does not count as a stitch. Slightly tighten. Hook 1 chain stitch to secure. Leave a 5-10 cm yarn tail and cut the yarn. Please hide the yarn tails on the wrong side. That's all for crocheting the edging. Up to this point, the entire project is fully explained. If you have any unclear points during the crocheting process, feel free to ask. Don't hesitate to join our Facebook group to get supports. Susan's Family, Needle and Thread, sharing the joy of life. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.